Hi, my name is Judy and I'm the City Stitcher, and welcome to my Flosstube channel. Today is Sunday, January the 15th. Yes, we are halfway through the first month of 2023. It's a reasonably decent day. The temperatures are above 0, which is lovely. The sun is up, but not bright. So I'd say it's sort of it's not really cloudy. It's just, I'm having that moment going like, it's, you know, you can have those winter days where it's sunshiny and bright. That wasn't today. It's kind of, I don't want to say it's overcast, partially cloudy. It's just the sun was up and it was okay. So my hopes for having a really glorious sunshiny day on the weekend so that I could be stitching in the sunroom did not come to pass. It's okay. It's okay. Those days will come back. Anyway, it is what it is. It's winter. That's what happens in winter. So thank you to those of you who have commented on the last two videos. Sorry they came out the way they did. Clearly I'm new at this, and well, the other one got uploaded last week. It didn't get published, and anyway. But for some of you, you enjoyed having back-to-back videos, which is great. My goal is that that doesn't happen frequently. Anyway, everything's new in 2023. So we are back to, it is Sunday afternoon. I am recording Sunday afternoon. We're sort of back on track. So hopefully this will continue. If you are a new viewer, thank you for stopping by and spending some time with me. And as always, if you are a returning viewer, I always appreciate those of you who come back and keep up with my stitching journey, and who comment. As I say, I love the comments because that is, as far as I'm concerned, that is our conversation part of the visit that we have through these videos. So I'm sort of going to wrap up the combination of comments on the last two videos together. So thank you to those of you who commented that you enjoyed my whip parade. Thank you. It was an interesting experience, including, you know, the light falling over and all the other fun things that go with that. I was watching somebody else's whip parade and went, yeah, it's a little bit easier when you've got somebody to hand stuff off to. But they had to go back in the bags. So yeah, thanks for all of those wonderful comments, and to the people who commented on how much they're enjoying my new starts for 2023. Thank you. I'm enjoying my new starts for 2023, and you'll get to see some of that in just a bit. Katie S. left a comment about even weave fabric. So she's an even weave fan as well. Her position on linen is very similar to mine, and she made a comment that their fabric flare has a 36 count even weave. And my question for you, Katie, is have you seen it? Have you seen it live and in person and all that stuff to actually see that it is an even weave? I only ask this question because there are people, in my world, I differentiate. There's linen and there's even weave. Linen, we all know about linen. Even weave in my world are Jobelan and Lugana. But there are people out there who will consider linen an even weave. And they consider it an even weave because the number of threads vertically are the same as the number of threads that there are horizontally. So there are people out there who consider, you know, linen is an even weave, Jobelan is an even weave, Lugana is an even weave, to the extent where the vertical threads and the horizontal threads are the same number. There are linens that you can purchase that are not even. So there are linens that are like, you know, I'm making the numbers up because I don't own any of these and I don't want any of these. There are linens that are like 53, 63. So it's some combination of numbers which says to you that the number of threads one direction versus the number of threads in the other direction are not the same number. So that's an uneven linen. So I'm just cautious when people talk about a 36 count even weave, because they could still be referring to linen. So Katie, if you could comment again on this video, hopefully you'll watch it and let me know. Or anybody else, if you've ordered a 36 count fabric flare even weave, can you let me know if it's actually an even weave or if it's actually linen? That would be really great. Dee left a comment about, and I love the lingo here, and I'm planning on using it myself. She is also working on an alphabet sampler in 2023. She also worked on Sampler of Stitches as part of the Stitch Along last year and finished it. I'm pretty sure she said she finished it before the end of the year, which was great. And I think she has had the same thought process as me, which is like, wow, that really worked out really well for us in 2022. We should do that again with another alphabet sampler in 2023. So she's doing another one, and she says she's using the SOS method. Love it, love it, love it, love it. SOS, Sampler of Stitches method, aka as long as you get one letter done every 2 weeks, you'll have an alphabet sampler stitched by the end of the year. So that's great. I want to say she's working on Little Bird Sampler by With Thy Needle and Thread, I think is what she said. So yeah, that's great. Deb, the traveling stocking stitcher, left a comment because she had her own chuckle at me moaning, whining, and complaining about the Krynic, even though I chose the piece and all the things. And she reminded me she's stitching a piece where the whole everything is done with Krynic. And I feel your pain. And she commented that because it's all Krynic, I think she just have that innate hesitance to work on it, because you know it's not necessarily your favorite process to do. Now, I'm one of those people who go like, I may not always love all of the process, but I love the outcome. It's a lot like cooking. I don't necessarily love cooking or I love baking, but I generally enjoy the outcome at the end. So her piece where it's all Krynic. So she's making herself do 1 strand a week, 1 strand a day. Okay, forgot which one it was. You know, just get that 1 strand in, right? And then putting it away and working on something else. But that 1 strand a day will, over time, it makes progress, which is great. And then Jay had a question for me about beading. He's working on Mirabilia's Royal Holiday. He's working on the stitching, but he's kind of going like, I may run into a problem with beading. He's going to do beading at the end. He's working on, now he says it's a 9x9 Q-snap. I'm not sure if you really mean 9x9 because that's not one of the sizes I recognize. I recognize 8x8, 6x6, and 11x11, 9x9. Not to say that it's not true. Anyway, how to do beading with that. And my answer is it's going to make it more challenging. But what my recommendation to you would be is, so here's an 8x8 Q-snap. Depending on how you hold your Q-snap, because you didn't say whether you put it into a stand or anything, but let's pretend you're holding it in your hand. So I'm right-handed. If I'm holding the Q-snap, I'm going to be holding the Q-snap with my left and using my right hand to do the stitching. If I were trying to do beading on this, what would end up happening is I would start in the top left corner. And then what would happen is then I would move from left to right. And what would happen, certainly as you do that top part, as you move left to right, I don't know that you've got a ton. I do have Royal Holiday, but I didn't haul it out to see where the beading is. What you would end up doing for the top part, you would remove the one, so let's do, this is how, right, so you would move the left side of the Q-snap, And then you would need to provide the tautness with your hand holding it. And it would do fine as you do the first little bit. Then as you start to move down, again, I would move down and start on the left-hand side. And then you would end up needing to take off the top one as you moved across. But you would still be able to keep two of the clamps on as you're moving across to try to keep the fabric, to provide some of the tautness that you're used to in a Q-snap. Now, it won't be exactly the same as if you had all 4 clamps on. There are people out there who say that they are fine doing the putting the clamps over top of beads, and just they put either batting or flannel or felt or fabric of some kind to cushion it to prevent the clamps from harming the beads. I don't like that. Have I ever tried it with them? No. Do I have any good reason for not liking it? No, other than I don't like it. I don't like that concept. So it will be a little bit more challenging, still doable. I've done it myself. I've done it on ones, not quite as much beading as Royal Holiday will likely take, but where I just didn't have something, I didn't have a scroll rod that worked for whatever the project was. So anyway, for whatever reason, I didn't have one, and I ended up doing it in a Q-snap. And that's essentially how I approached it to get it to work. So that's my suggestion. If anybody else has got a really good suggestion for Jay, feel free to put it in the comments down below, because we'd all love to hear them. And then he also made a comment. He's bought Mirabilia's Winter Queen, and because I told him to, he bought the specialty fibers and the beads. Yes, for those ones, you know, I'm a big kit that part up as you're going. He's also looking for Summer Queen, which he knows is out of print. Just in case anybody's wondering, if you're looking for a list of the Mirabilia or Nora Corbett charts that are out of print, the resource that I personally use to check on that is in the Mira, M-I-R-A, M-I-R-A on the wall Facebook group. In that Facebook group, under the files section of the Facebook group, they've got 2 different files, one for the Nora Corbett charts, one for the Mirabilia charts, and it will show everything to the best of their knowledge that is out of print. So Summer Queen is out of print. I have no great suggestions on how to find it at a reasonable cost. Set up the searches on eBay and stuff like that. Generally, unfortunately, from the ones that the out of print Mirabilias that are on secondary sites, for the most part, what I have seen is that people really are going, yeah, they are selling them for like $100 US a chart. Sometimes, you know, in that, you know, 40 to 50 range, if it's one that's not quite as popular. There are some that are out of print that people are searching desperately for, which garner those high prices. Some of the ones that are out of print, not very many people are looking for them, so you know they'll probably be a more reasonable price. But yeah, my unicorn chart is touching the autumn sky. Anyway, one of these days, maybe I'll find it at a reasonable price. It'll be good. Anyway, and part of his question relating to Summer Queen is, how does a chart like that go out of print? Now, I don't exactly know, so do not take this as gospel. This is what potentially is happening in the background in the land of Witchelt, according to Judy, only in her head, having had no conversations with anybody. I think when they release new charts, they do a print run of a certain size, and it's a decent size. And I think the size of those print runs are sort of based historically on sort of how they're selling. I don't know, like that's how it works in my head. I don't know that they're doing multiple runs because there are a lot of Mirabilias that are out of print. There are even Nora Corbetts that are out of print, and they're, you know, where they're going out of print and not out of print is, and I have no explanations for that. But when Witchelt did a second reprint of a select number of out-of-print charts, they only did a very specific print run size. There were a lot of restrictions on, like, I think every retail shop was allowed to order like 3 copies of each of the charts. Like, they were limited to how many they could order. Maybe it was 5. It was a really small number, like absolutely in the single digits. And they were sold out, you know, essentially as soon as they released the second second offering of that select numbers, like they were sold out again instantly. Why that is, I don't understand. You know, with all the printing options that are now available, you know, you can print on demand. Now, potentially, does that mean that the charts take a different form and are on different paper, and you may not get that, you know, standard cover if they were to change the printing version for that? I don't know. But I struggle with that as well, going, there's like, it's a lot easier these days to print charts. Now, Mirabilias, I'll say, you know, even on those, it's a little bit different because a Mirabilia chart is a larger chart. Like Long Dog Samplers, they're large charts, but they are printed in standard 8.5 by 11 pages. The Mirabilis tend to be on those sort of 11 by 17 pages. So, but still, I go, there's a lot of printing options. So why Witchelt has this, this policy, I'm calling it a policy, again, I'm making it up in my head, about sort of once they're out of their stock, that's the end of it. I can't explain it. I can't explain it. So I have no good answer on that. But good luck in your search, Jay, on finding Summer Queen. If you're thinking about my voice, I don't know what's going on. It's whenever I do a recording, apparently it knows. If you're looking for the Mirabilia Queens, the seasonal queens, the only one that is currently still in print is Winter Queen. Spring, Summer, and Autumn Queen are all out of print. So you'll be looking in a secondary market if you're looking for those. Okay, let's get into stitching. So after my unusual week last week, was working on my little plan as discussed, and did not too bad. Not quite as great as I would have liked, but not too bad. So I feel like this week I can get back on track and get into my regular stitching plan. So the first thing I worked on was, of course, my Spring ABCs by Little House Needleworks. I am doing this on a 28 count Star Sapphire Jobelan, using sort of my own color conversion. So my whole plan, because I was behind schedule, was that I was just going to work on this and I was going to do my next letter and be done with it and move on. That's not how that worked out. So here's where I'm at. Really unhappy with how the ring light is working these days. Let's do, maybe that'll help a bit. So clearly I did more than my B. So I finished A, filled in the center of those flowers with yellow, not using the called for yellow, of course. I will put the details about what I'm using in the notes section down below if you're wanting to know. Let's just stop fussing with that. Then I, of course, did the bee for bunnies and finished all of that. Now here's where it went sideways on me. As I went, well, I still had some brown out. So I had to go down and finish what I had. I am using for the brown, that particular shade of brown, because there's 2 browns called for in the chart. I am using Weeks Dyeworks Mocha. I think the, yeah, there was something, I think the original called for is Classic Colorworks Wagon Wheel, and whenever I was looking at it wasn't working for me, so I just changed it to a different brown. And then while I was there, I was like, I really wanted to do more of this variegated to see how I was liking it, particularly on this fabric. So I took out another strand and did that one to finish off the length I'd originally pulled. I'm liking it. I'm at the point where I think I've decided that this is a good fabric choice for this particular version, certainly with my color combination. So I'm still gonna do a little bit more before I actually cut it off of, you know, my gigantic fat half here. It is a little cumbersome to work with, but yeah, I think I'm okay with my fabric choice for this. So probably next week I will cut it into the correct length, and I can get rid of put the rest of it back into stash. But it's certainly stitching up a lot faster than sampler stitches. So I'm making really great progress on this. Really great progress on this. So very happy with that. Then I, of course, forgot to talk about this on last week's video because I wasn't paying any attention because I was filming on the wrong day. I had forgotten that Wednesday was going to be the 11th of January. And on the 11th of January, on the 11th of every month, I am working on my Just Nan Remember 911. Working on it 1 day a month. So I am stitching this on a 28 count Antique White Jobelan using the called for silks from the chart. And so I did this band with the cup stitch and this band, which is the cashmere stitch, and then started working on the regular cross stitches on this next band. These 4 roses are to represent the 4 planes that went down in 9/11. So as usual, not quite, I was really kind of hoping that I was going to get all of this band done, and that didn't happen. Anyway, it's fine. It's fine. This is not a race. It's not like I'm, you know, going to run out of stitching time anytime soon that I know of. But, you know, this is the whole plan for this piece, is that bringing it out once a month, I make progress. And I'm making progress on a chart that has been sitting in my stash for 20 years. Time to get it done. So it's making progress, slow but steady. I do find it's interesting. I think one of the things that slows me down, like this band here where it was the same stitch all the way across, that one goes lickety-split. The cashmere stitch went lickety-split. When it turns into a combination of things, combination of different specialty stitches using a combination of different threads, that's where I tend to slow down on this one. And I think it has to do with the fact because it is very tonal, right? Very tone on tone. It's shades of cream and white and a grayish you know, a grayish color for some reason. I think because it's not very distinct. It's not like here's the blue and the green and the purple and the red and the whatever, that for some reason in my head I think that's slowing me down. Does that really make sense? No, but I think it is. Anyway, it's making progress, and that's good. Then, of course, we had From the Heart, Needleart by Wendy, my January Quaker. And as expected, it's a finish. I love how this worked out. Love, 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 love. So this month, this Quaker is also yet again a bit of a test case. One, it was going to be like, is it going to stitch up about the same speed as the Cottages of the Month did last year? And they are. I had put January into Markup RXP before we hit January 1st and had done a little check for the month of January to see what the stitch count was. I don't remember off the top of my head. I want to say it's about 2,400 stitches in this one, which is about the same size as the Cottages of the Month were. So I was going, it will go about the same speed. I do think it goes a little bit faster than the Cottages because there's a much more limited color palette, right? So there's only 3 colors in here. I'm doing this on a 40 count White Verdal, and for January I used the called for DMC colors instead of the Classic Colorworks. When I was uploading the previous video, I had a big chuckle because I sort of showed this one, did the discussion, and went, you forgot the fact that you changed things in this. You know me. If you're ever expecting me to exactly follow a chart, I'm not sure that's ever going to happen. I'm not sure I've got that skill set. So what did I change on this one? So there's 2 changes. So let me bring back the picture so you can see them. So the 2 changes are, I felt at the bottom of this wreath that there should have been a couple more leaves just to fill it out. So that's what I did. And all I really did was I took this one and moved it down here, and this one and moved it down. It's the exact same shape, stitch count, everything. I just moved it so that it was coming off of the bottom of the wreath. Now, when I finished stitching them, I was actually really, really happy with that because it kind of looks very symmetrical with sort of what I'm calling sort of the bottom of the, whatever is coming off of the bottom of the wreath. I was going to call it ribbon. I don't think it's actually ribbon, but anyway, it ended up to me looking very symmetrical, which is what I was looking for, and a little more filled out at the bottom. The other change I did is that I felt that January was placed a little too high up in this wreath, and so I have moved it down 2 stitches. Very simple. I haven't changed anything other than that, other than looking at where it was on the chart and moving it down 2 stitches. It doesn't run into, you know, this leaf that's coming out here. There were no problems with how the Y was going to interact with anything. Just moving it down a simple 2 stitches. It didn't impact anything else. It didn't run into anything else. And as far as I was concerned, it was a little more centered in the wreath. And you know me and my, you know, things being even, symmetrical, all that kind of good stuff. So those are the 2 design changes that I made to the January Quaker, and I'm very, very, very happy with it. Very, very pleased with it. I think I'm really going to enjoy doing this series this year. As I said in the previous video, my goal is that I'm going to work this exactly like I did the Cottages of the Month. Stitching them one a month in the month that they're called. So January's being done in January, and that's just how I'm going to progress throughout the year. Love it, love it, love it, love it. So first finish for 2023, and I'm very happy about that. One. And so once that got finished, then I moved on to Twilight Star by Patricia Ann Designs. And me and the pattern, we had a little bit of a discussion. Which really means I looked at the chart and went, really? Really? How do you, okay, do something else. Come back and look at it. Wait a minute, what's going on? So I spent a little more time looking at a couple of things and was not overly, where did that piece of paper go? Missing one of my things. I also laugh when I have one of these problems because I've got a big piece of mat board that I bought specifically that I was going to cut up so that I could have more things to use as backing for projects. I just need to cut it up. Anyway, so here's where I'm at on this. I am doing this on a 28 count white Jobelan using the called for fibers. So what was my problem? So I came up here, remember I started with just sort of the diamonds up here at the top. So I was going to come in and work the specialty stitches, which was a diamond eyelet in the center of each of the diamonds. Easy peasy, no problem. Then there are these, I want to call them upright crosses. It's very hard to tell in the picture. See, there's 2, 2, 2, and 2. So my problem with that is that those are being stitched with 2 strands of Quaker blending filament. Totally fine, no problems. I know exactly what's going to happen with that. The problem is that they're sort of, you know, there's 2 on each side. There's no way, there's nowhere for me to tie them off. Like the nearest stitch to where those are is about 20 stitches away, believe it or not. So they're in a really weird spot, and I am utterly unwilling to carry my thread for 20 stitches. Right, so they're sort of like over here in the middle of nowhere. And I don't want to carry my 2 strands of blending filament because I feel like that'll show up. So what I'm going to end up needing to do, so I'm going to end up needing to do the I need to do the beading up here so that I can get those stitches in, because I'm going to need to tie them off to sort of the stitches that you'll see on the back when I attach the beads. So I need to put the beads in before I can do those. So Jay, I've had my own little beading debate about, do I bead this thing starting from the very beginning? There are 21 bands on this, so you know, here's the length of fabric for that. I'm having my own debate about whether or not I do bead this from start to finish. So I haven't made a final decision on that. So I came down after I debated that, looked at it and debated and decided I couldn't make a final decision. I wasn't going to start the beading just yet. So then I came down and did all of the stitching down here to finish off band number 2. So this is band number 1, which is not complete. This is band number 2, which is complete. Sort of all the stitches you're seeing there are actually Smyrna stitches, not regular cross stitches, using DMC, and the white ones, which are probably harder to tell on camera, are being done with Quaker number 4 braid 032. So it was interesting. So when I was doing the Smyrna stitches with the Krynic number 4 braid, they're a little bulky. So I had that moment where I was like, I am very grateful that on this one, I actually, the recommended fabric is a 28 count fabric. They of course use 28 count white linen. I am using 28 count white Jobelan. Still 28 count. So I'm very grateful I actually stuck with the 28. If I had moved it up to 32, I think I would be very unhappy with the Smyrnas. They're in there, they're okay. But don't forget, it's a Smyrna over 2 threads on 28 count. If you don't like them, the solution to that is don't do the Smyrna, just do a regular cross stitch. So if I had actually started this on a 32 count, I think probably within the first 4 or 5, I would have said, wow, this is not looking good. It is far too bulky with a Krynic number 4 braid on 32 count. I think it'd be too bulky. I think I would just revert back to a regular cross stitch. Using one strand of the DMC on 28 count is totally fine. So I finished band number 2 and did band number 3, which is a 4-sided stitch. But it's the 15th of January. There's 21 bands on this. So I need to start stitching faster. Let's check back in next week and see where I'm at. See how fast the next one go. I have been looking ahead and thinking to myself that I think the next ones will go a little faster. I just need to hurry up and make my decision about whether I think I'm going to bead from the get-go. Check back in. I've got tonight. So tonight stitching will be back on the ABCs. And after that, it will be on Monday, we'll revert back into the regular stitches. So check back in next week and see how well I do. And that is the stitching that I accomplished between the last video you saw and this video, which is Sunday, January 15th. Back to the Sundays. All right. With that, stashquisitions. I don't have any stashquisitions to talk about. I know my whole goal was I was going to use my gift certificate that my brother gave me for Christmas to buy cross-stitch charts, and that didn't happen. It's fine. They're still going to be there. Maybe next week I'll have gotten myself together to get those acquired and use up my gift certificate. So nothing to talk about yet. Hopefully they're coming. That's my stashquisitions. That was easy. Plans for this week, I've already just discussed those. Nothing egregiously exciting, wonderful, and daring. Just working on the stuff. Unlike the first week, the first week's a little hectic because it was New Year, New Start, and I had 3 new starts. My ABC start, my monthly start, plus my January project. And I had my Queen start later that week. Anyway, we're back into a more regular work, so there won't be quite as many projects to talk about next week. So next week's video might actually be a fairly short one. So those are my plans for this week, which brings us to the topic. Now, the topic for this week is patterns by From the Heart Needle Art by Wendy. This is the first time that I am working on a project that was designed by Wendy. She's located in Idaho, but I have several charts from her. I don't have a large number of them. There are a number of them that I'm looking at, but I'm trying to be somewhat well behaved. So as I mentioned in the one, maybe it was last week's video, if that sounds right. Last week's video when I was talking about my plans for the year. I am planning on doing all of her monthly Quakers. She actually has more than one monthly chart. I don't see, there's sort of the more recent ones which came out sort of over the course of 2022. The other monthly series she has, as far as I can tell, is older than that. I did not go onto Hoffman to see if she's got paper copies, but they certainly are available through her Etsy shop, and I will put a link to her Etsy shop in the notes section down below. So there's that. I currently have 7 of the 12 monthly charts because I'm waiting for the remaining, that doesn't sound right. I have everything to July. I have 8 of the 12. So I've got 4 left to go. I know, 4 left to go for 2023. Yep. Anyway, technically they're kitted up. I've got the fabric and the threads. I just need to get the chart. Anyway, and I'm waiting for those to be published as PDF charts. That's what I'm waiting for. I could order them as paper copies, but I would prefer to get them as a PDF because she does publish her charts as PDFs. Not necessarily right away, which I'm totally fine with. Not publishing them necessarily right away gives physical brick and mortar shops the opportunity to sell the physical paper copies. I'm willing to wait. I'll wait for the PDF for those remaining 4 charts. So those, she said they would be coming out in the spring. Like I say, I'm totally fine. I have everything up to July. So as long as they're out before July, I'm going to be good to go. And they're all, like I say, they're all in the back half of the year, so it's fine. So just a quick little, I pulled out the paper ones that I have, which is where I got originally sucked in. Originally, I think I got sucked in because I was visiting the Craft Connection and they had some, so they came home. So here's the February Quaker. And I like February because it's not too Valentine-y hardy. Yes, there are some hearts embedded in the Quaker designs. And yes, there's pink, but when I look at this, I go, it doesn't, like, you know how there are some charts that are like scream Valentine's Day at you? Not that I'm against Valentine's Day, but like anyway, I was like going, it's February without being too Valentine-y. If that makes any sense whatsoever. Here's the March one. Here's the May one. And here is the September one. Ugh, I love September. I'm not sure I'm doing September in purple colors. Check back later and see what the final decision is on that. But I love that chart. Love that chart. Love the combination. I think I might need to take September off if I were actually stitching it with those colors. Doesn't mean I can't stitch it twice. So she has a number of smaller charts like that. I also have as a PDF, she's got some that are, like there's a Christmas Quaker one, and she's got other small Quakers. So those are available as well. She also has larger sampler charts. I don't have a ton of them. Wait for this. I have one of them. There are a couple that I've got my eye on, but I'm telling myself to be behaved and you know, I want to say somewhat restrained. That doesn't sound like me very well. So I'm just taking the front cover out of this one. But the one that I have bought is this Berry Blossom Sampler. So the letters are blue. There's a big house. The border looks nice. There's not too many animals on there. I know that there are lots of people who like all the animals that show up in reproduction samplers and all that kind of stuff. I'm okay with a few of them, not too many. Looks like 2 dogs running, well, looks like 2 somethings running around on the front lawn. Whether those animals make it into my version of this when I stitch this is still up for debate. But this one I like. which of course is why I have it. The one that is sort of on my, you know, I'm telling myself I'm not going to buy it until this one gets done. This one is not in the 5-year plan. So I don't know what that means. It's the Hannah Hetherington. Why? Because it's a lot of blue. So she does have a number of samplers. It's interesting what she's talked about so far for sort of, you know, how some of the charts are going to be coming out over the course of 2023. She's running, she's sort of doing smaller versions of the large sampler charts. So really what she's doing, she's taking specific elements, you know, she's taking specific elements and sort of making it into a smaller version of the chart so that you don't have to do the larger chart. So this chart, now again, as far as some samplers go, this is not huge. This is 151 by 187, which means on 32 count, it would be 9.5 by 11 3/4. So not out of control. You know, slightly bigger than that if you're working on 28, but not, like I say, not egregiously large. But there are a lot of stitchers out there where they're wanting to stitch smaller charts up. They're wanting to do things that are smaller, that they can get finished more quickly, and they don't want to stitch all of this. You know, there are people who go, I don't want to stitch all of that border. I don't want to stitch my 47th alphabet. I don't want to, you know, whatever it is, it doesn't appeal to them, which is totally fine. You only stitch the things that appeal to you. So she's taking some of her larger charts and then just sort of taking specific elements. So if not that she's doing this, and this is just me doing my own off the head, right? So it'd be like just giving you sort of this middle part, saying, I don't want to stitch the big gigantic house and all of the lawn, and I don't want to stitch all of the border, and I don't want to stitch my 47th alphabet. I just care about these little baskets and floral things, and saying that's the small. Now, I totally get people, there are people like me where I go like, if I only really like 1/3 of the chart, and that's all I would really stitch of it, I do have the problem going like, I'm not sure I could necessarily pay for the whole chart where I know I only want to do like 1/3 of it, right? Like there comes a point where it's like, oh, do you really want to spend that amount of money out of your budget for a chart where you only want to do a little piece? And so I actually think it's really great that she's doing this, taking those smaller bits. No, it will be interesting to see over time if she chooses the bits I would choose. I don't know that that's necessarily going to be 1-for-1, so that would be funny. You know, just to say, here's Hannah Hetherington, the smaller version, so you only get, you know, make a little square of some of the elements. You know, so they may be repositioned. She may need to rechart some of them, but they still have the concept of what was in the original one. I can't speak to exactly what's in that. I've seen sort of the postings about them, but I don't know. I haven't specifically gone back and looked at like the large chart compared to the smaller version that she's putting out. But I think it is great for people who go, I don't necessarily want to invest in a really large sampler chart. It still gives them the opportunity to kind of, you know, stitch the mini version, which I think that's great. I haven't got any of them, and we'll wait and see what happens with that. But yeah, the monthly Quakers, when January came out originally, I was like, I love it, I love it, I love it. And I said, don't get it. You know, clearly this is going to be 12 charts. Let's see how they're going. Yes, you love January, but who knows if you'll like any of the ones past that. And if you only do the one, it's going to bug me that I only have January anyway. So I don't know. It didn't take me that long before it's like you're loving all of them. And I do. I love all of them. I'm really glad that my plan is to stitch all of them this year. I'm finding it a little bit entertaining because, you know, these are recent charts. Unlike 911, which has been sitting in my stash for 20 years and is only just now getting stitched. The monthly Quakers, they're recent, and I'm starting them fairly close to release date, which is a pretty big move for me. Big, bold. Woo! Look at that. It is possible. Anyway, so that's a very quick high-level overview of some of the charts by From the Heart Needleart. If you've got a favorite online shop, most of her charts are readily available. If you are looking for PDF versions, you can get them directly from her through her Etsy shop. The ones that are available as PDFs. So not all of her charts are available as PDFs, only some of them are available as PDFs. Fat Quarter Shop also has some of her PDF charts available on there. So if you're looking for another shop as well, they're available through Fat Quarter Shop. I haven't checked into some, I know that there are some other shops down in the online shops down in the US that are doing some online selling of PDF charts. I have not checked to see if they're carrying from the Heart Needleart, but yes, I will put a link to her the From the Heart Needleart web page itself, because she does have freebies as well. So when in doubt, if you're wondering if you'll like the concept, there are freebies on there to download. I was looking at it as I was getting ready on Friday, because I knew that was going to be the topic for this week. I was on there. I just had to check and make sure that I had downloaded the ones that I like off of the freebie page. So she does have some freebies available for downloading. So hey, there's a lot of stuff going on. Inflation, 27 things going on. I'm a big believer of stitching within your budget. So I am appreciative of every designer that is willing to make available free designs. I think that's really, I appreciate the gift of those free designs to the community. I will put a link to the website in case you're interested in looking for those. And that's all I've got for you this week. Not too bad. Still heading towards an hour, but we are not past the hour mark, so we're doing okay. But that's it for this week. We are back to a Sunday. Hopefully I will be back next Sunday again. Just another quick reminder that the January Stitching at the Library, if you are in the Greater Calgary area, is going to be on Saturday, January the 28th at the Signal Hill Library from 1:30 p.m. to 4:30. It's an afternoon slot. The details for that are in the notes section down below. If you're interested in joining a lovely group of stitchers, that's where we're going to be. As always, thinking of the people of the Ukraine. As always, the pictures coming out of the Ukraine are somewhat disheartening, and I can't believe that we're still talking about the Ukraine. So I'm still going to bring it up. Anyway, the situation in the Ukraine is still going. It's not to say that there aren't other conflicts going on in the world. Anywho, on to more positive things. As always, I hope you're staying safe. Safety first, safety first, safety first. It's always better to arrive safe, 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 safe. I had dinner with some friends this week and heard some very challenging stories about some things that were occurring in the lives of their families, and safety first, safety first, safety first. So I hope you're all staying safe. I hope you're staying healthy. I hope you're finding some time to do some stitching, because even for me, you may not feel like stitching, but as soon as you sit down and get started, look at that spring ABCs. I just couldn't stop myself. I was only going to do bunnies. I did a little bit more than bunnies. Anyway, I hope you're finding some time to do some stitching, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Take care.